It's a Warner Wednesday here on PHNX. Cardinals and the Hall of Famers going to give us kind of a long-term look at the Arizona Cardinals, the quarterback position, and their struggles as of late, Johnny Venerable.
Yeah, we're going to break down what the solution is short-term and long-term at QB. If there's a name that he likes this offseason that the Arizona Cardinals could potentially pursue, PHNX Cardinals with the Hall of Famer starts now. Hey, welcome in. From Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier #1 in the world, Arizona Cardinal podcast. Kindly like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He, of course, is Brack in Studio K. Noah Man behind the mic. We've got our Hall of Famer, your Hall of Famer, number 13, Kurt Warner, joining us in just a second. Bo, how we living on this Wednesday?
We're living well, still blown away by the generosity for those who gave yesterday for our day of giving and benefited. All the proceeds go to the Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Central Arizona. This episode of PHNX Cardinals brought to you by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app today. Use the code PHNX365. Deposit $10, bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose, Johnny.
Here he is, the Hall of Famer Kurt Warner joins us here December 3rd. And Kurt, unfortunately, the Cardinals eliminated from the playoffs for the earliest in I think my entire adult life here in Arizona. It's been a hot minute. While they haven't made the postseason early and often recently, they've been in the mix. And so, take me back to your tenure, your history, and when you don't have postseason aspirations anymore, what's the motivation for guys in that locker room week to week?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really depends on who you are and at what stage of your career you're in. If you're in the earlier stages, you're one of those guys that's always trying to make it. We always say that every time you step on the field, you're writing your resume. Whether that's for your current team or whether that's for the next team. And so guys that haven't been there and kind of tasted that part of it or aren't well established in the league, there's still constant motivation as you're trying to prove something every time you step out there. It's a little different for individuals that have played, and so I can look back at my career. My first year starting, we go to the Super Bowl. My third year starting, we go to the Super Bowl. So then when you go to different places and you find yourself out of the mix with 5 or 6 games to go, you're really just kind of like, okay, can we just start this whole thing over and let's do this again? Like, there's not great motivation for the last 4 or 5 weeks, so to speak, even though it's not like you don't show up, you don't prepare, but it's like, once you get there, that's what you play for. Like, that's what it's all about, is postseason opportunity and a chance to compete for the championship. And that's your mindset, just like you guys here. Every time a team shows up for training camp, right? Hey, we're going to win the championship this year. And that's what it's all about. And that's the only, every team talks about it. And, it's so true because that's your mindset going in. And so when you're eliminated early and you're a more established player, the motivation isn't as high, in terms of you really do want to get to the offseason. Let's regroup. Let's figure out what we need to do differently. And let's get back at this thing because, what are we playing for if we're not playing to win a championship, so to speak? And so I think it really just depends on, where you're at, what you're playing for as an individual, and then the big picture of what we're really trying to play for and compete for every year.
Yeah, I mean, hope always springs eternal right before the season. We just didn't anticipate, it being over so quickly. It's been such a trying year for the Cardinals, Kurt. I mean, 3-9. They've lost 7 games, 0-7 in games decided by 4 points or less, which is just kind of astounding. Last time we talked to you, they were coming off of back-to-back blowouts. These past 2 weeks, it's come down to fourth down plays. It's 3 fourth down plays in 2 weeks. I mean, in your opinion, is it fair to kind of maybe put those and amplify those plays, put them under a microscope? We're talking about the 4th and 4 against Jacksonville, and then most recently against Tampa, it was a 4th and 1 pitch play, and then a 4th and 2 pass play that Todd Bowles and his staff seem to have sniffed out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always hard when you go back and look at a game because there's the old adage that that's the play that cost the game, and everything is illuminated in those key moments, like you got to make that play. And then we always talk about there's so many plays in the course of a game that dictate whether it comes down to a final play or a final 4th down or one of those things. And so it's really hard, but yeah, I mean, I think we all know in sports, and especially in the NFL, so many games are close. So many games come down to, making a play in the moment, to be able to keep a drive going, to be able to finish a drive, whatever that is, to be the difference between winning and losing. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely unfair to just come down to one play and say, oh, this is what cost us the game, because it's not what cost you the game. But we often see it like that.
Kurt, a lot's been made of Jonathan Gannon and his, stability as the head coach of this team. And you've got players coming out defending him. And, I think back to your season, 2007. Was there a point going into 2008 when you looked at Todd Haley, you looked at Ken Wisnett, you said, like, yeah, we can win with these guys? You had been around Hall of Fame level head coaches in St. Louis, but there was ever a moment where, like, yeah, we have the goods to compete here?
Yeah, I mean, I think we felt that in 2007. We started out, so-so in 2007, and then Matt got injured, and then I got injured in my first game as a starter with my elbow, and had to kind of fight through that. And so the first half of the season, we were kind of just trying to figure things out. Obviously, we hadn't been successful in Arizona the last couple of years. So we were trying to figure things out. And then the back half of the year, we actually played pretty well. I mean, I played really well down the stretch. I think we finished 5-3. We lost a crazy game that we probably shouldn't have lost to San Francisco. And I think that was even the difference, that year from us possibly getting into the playoffs or tying record wise for that final spot in the playoffs. I think we ended up 8-8 that year, and had a chance to go 9-7 as we, went down against San Francisco. We missed a kick at the end of regulation and lost the game in overtime. But that was kind of the difference. And we won our last couple years, last couple games that year. And so I really felt like, the team felt we had turned a corner of a bit. Like we were very competitive down the stretch, and we had some really good pieces, and we were really close to the playoffs. And so that momentum, I think, really carried us in to 2008 and what we believed we could accomplish. That we had been growing and building something since I had gotten there. But I felt like that year, and especially the second half of that year, we started to believe, like, okay, what Ken Whisenhunt was selling, with the pieces that we had, that we could be competitive the next year. And again, I feel like that fueled the offseason, and our excitement and our mindset going into 2008.
I remember you had to wear that big bulky brace for the most of that season. You see it, linemen wear those all the time. It was interesting to see a QB at the time wearing it, but man, you just gritted your teeth through that injury, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, it was just a crazy time for me. Obviously in 2006, I had, been benched, and then obviously we were splitting time at the beginning of 2007, and then Matt gets hurt, and I'm like, okay, this might be my last shot, as a starter. And then go figure, in the first quarter of my first game in there, I dislocate my elbow, and I'm just thinking, are you kidding me? Like, come on. I've had so many, like, I didn't have any serious injuries really. I mean, that was probably the most serious in my career, but I had a lot of breaks in my hand and things that I couldn't play through. And so it was such a weird thing, because it was like, man, it wasn't like a knee injury where I was out a season, but just little things. And then you get back into start and that happens. And you're just thinking, are you kidding me? But, you kind of go, couldn't play the rest of that game as we were trying to figure out what it was. But then as we got into, the next week, it was kind of like, okay, this is what it is. It's A, it's my left hand or left arm. And B, they're like, there's not really anything. I mean, you tore the ligaments in there and there's not really anything worse. If we brace it up so it's at least stable, we'll shoot you up. And so it's not too painful during the game. And if you can figure out how to play, because you guys remember, I had to hand off kind of backwards. Everything had to hand off with my right hand. They would take me out in the tight red zone because, the specific plays that we would run and how tight it was. So in tight red zone, I would come out of the game. But outside of that, I was like, shoot, this might be my last shot. I got to get back in there if at all possible. And so, yeah, so you fight through some of that stuff and didn't affect me too much, throwing the football. It took a couple weeks to get used to, but then it was kind of like, this is just kind of what it is. It's not too bad. And let's go play.
We're going to talk about Kyler Murray here in a second, but I think it, goes without saying, we feel like pretty confidently Cardinals are going to be a quarterback market this offseason. And, right now kind of barreling toward a top pick in the 2026 NFL draft. Kurt, you watch around the NFL. Why do you feel like young quarterbacks now may take them a year or two? It does feel like, though, there's light at the end of the tunnel more so than maybe a decade ago, 2 decades ago, where like Bryce Young's playing well now. People had written him off, right? Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, these guys just like, okay, let it bake a little bit longer. I think it would give Cardinal fans hope that you take a player, top 10, first round, Jackson Dart-esque, whatever, and you could have success even if it's not immediate.
Yeah, I mean, I think first thing, and, I don't watch a whole bunch of college football. I watch a little bit, obviously, with my son, and I catch it, in passing quite often. And, just following the NFL, I'm always, when you get a chance to watch some of these quarterbacks that they're talking about, next year or the year after, I try to pop it on and watch some of it. And, one thing I tweeted just a couple of weeks ago is that there's a lot of really good college quarterbacks, but the college game is so different than the NFL game. And so I watch these guys and I go, gosh, they do some really good things in college football. They could never do that in the NFL. Like, you're not playing that way in the NFL. Like, there's no chance this kid's going to survive doing that stuff or, thrive doing that stuff at the next level. And so I think, to your question, that's the first part of it, is that you have to learn how to play a different way. At least most guys do. Not everybody. I mean, some guys, like a Fernando Mendoza, who's obviously, one of the guys that people are talking about, maybe the first pick from a quarterback standpoint in this draft. He's a pocket passer. And so he plays the game very much like that. And I think that translates better to the NFL. Some of these guys that do more of the run pass, more of the quarterback designed runs and things, who are good, maybe like a Pavia, right? You're like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if that, the way he plays and with his level of athleticism, that translates to the NFL, and especially not right away. And so that, I think, is the first part of it, is that you have to realize it's a different game. Even though they're playing quarterback and throwing the ball, it's a different game that you're playing at this level. So it takes a little bit of time from that perspective. I think there's more complexity in our game, right? There's more speed at our level. And so all of that takes some getting used to. And then I just think some of these guys just aren't ready yet. Right. And I know we hate to hear that. When you draft a guy high, everybody wants to think everybody's going to be great. Everybody's going to be the Jaden Daniels every single year. And it's just not like that. Some guys need to mature. Some guys just need to flat out get better. Some guys get caught in a situation where there's just not a good, structure and system around them. And it takes them some time, like a Sam Darnold. Like, Sam Darnold played a lot of football, and he didn't play a lot of good football early in his career. And so, what do you pinpoint that on? Like, we can just say it was all the Jets, but I don't know if it was all the Jets. I don't know if Sam was quite ready for everything. And, we even talked to him a little bit last year when he was with Minnesota, and he said, stepping back and sitting on the bench, like in San Francisco, and learning from some different people and watching some different people do it, I learned some things, and I was able to step back from the pressure and, kind of take some things in. And I think I became a better quarterback. I mean, Bryce Young, I don't know exactly what it was, but he got benched too and wasn't looking the part. And then he's come back and he's been a different player. Like, what happened in those 4 or 5 weeks, that transforms a play? Like it's hard to figure out what could have happened. How much better can you get in 4 or 5 weeks? But I do think, pulling them back from all the pressure and the expectation. And, in some of these guys, Justin Fields, I think, is a guy that he's been thrown into so many situations, and I don't ever think he's been ready yet. But we automatically think he should be. And so we keep throwing him in, and he keeps getting kind of overwhelmed by the situation because he never got a chance he's never had that opportunity to sit on the bench and, and grow and learn and watch somebody for a year. And then we'll place you in when you're ready. And then we can see how good you really are. So I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. But the biggest one is simply, we put such high expectations on every one of these kids when they come out, thinking, okay, everyone's going to be the same. Everyone's going to mature the same way. Everybody's going to be able to handle the pressure and be in the face of a franchise and the struggles the same way. And it's just not the case. And so I think every case is a different study. And you can't pinpoint it. You don't necessarily know why. And so it does take some time, even like, how about a guy like Drew Brees? I mean, he got drafted to, San Diego, the Chargers at the time. And then he ends up, playing a little bit there. And then they go get Phillip Rivers. And it's like, this is Drew Brees. Like, this is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen. And he didn't fully, and he had a good season with the Chargers, but then they moved on because he wasn't the Drew Brees that we know right off the bat. And so there are some examples of that as well with some great players. So I just think it's such a hard study when you're looking at quarterbacks to know exactly what it's going to take, exactly what the situation is, exactly how long it's going to take somebody to truly become who they are as a quarterback. I always felt like you needed 3 years. You need 3 years to really tell what a quarterback's going to be. And, trying to rush that is just really hard. And I think we could look at Drake May and we could look at Jayden Daniels just from the last 2 years, right? Jayden Daniels was awesome last year, not nearly as good this year. Drake May, solid, good last year. He's been great this year. And so I look at that and I go, okay, what are they going to be for their career? Is it going to be Jayden last year? Is it going to be Drake this year? Or is it some kind of middle ground where sometimes you just have a great season and then you level off and it's like, this is who I am. So even with those guys, when we've seen some great play, I'm still sitting back going, but I still don't know exactly who each of them are. And I need another year to, they give me 2 years of really good. I'm starting to think, okay, they're really good. They give me 2 years of so-so, average. Then I start thinking, okay, that's what to expect from these guys. But to put that on them too early, I think is unfair.
The demand every offseason now outweighs the supply as far as the quarterback position. But, as we've seen now, we mentioned these names several times, like Darnold and Baker, establishing himself now, having several years on record, just successful quarterback play. Because you watch this position so often, are there a few guys that you kind of have your antenna up on that you've got a sense like if they're given an opportunity could take that next step if they're given maybe the keys to an offense?
Are you talking about some guys that are in the league now, like some guys that are, kind of in a backup role right now, or what?
I think like just non-starter situations, I think, or maybe just bad situations, because everybody just turns to the draft because that's kind of the easier path, the more traditional path. Hey, just select a guy, develop him. But like what we've seen is guys who've been around the league and they haven't had those pop years or haven't done it consistently enough. Is there anybody saying, hey, if this guy's just given an opportunity, maybe he could be one of the best 32 in the league?
Yeah, nobody really jumps to mind other than I'd like to see Mac Jones get another shot in that role. I think it was really an unfair situation for him in New England. He went there and he had a pretty good, rookie year. And then they did all the crazy stuff with putting defensive coordinators as the offense coordinators and all that, and then he just kind of disappeared and everybody's like, what happened to Mac Jones? And you're like, well, I mean, yeah, I don't want to judge him on that. And then he plays a little bit for San Francisco this year and plays pretty well. And so he's a guy that I would love to see, in a role like that again, just to see, okay, what exactly is he? Is he the, more the guy that was his rookie year and maybe the time that he spelled Brack this year, or is he the other guy? But I think he's the one guy that I've kind of seen, kind of in that role that we're talking about, that was a starter and then isn't a starter, and what could he be moving forward? I would like to see him back in that role. I can't really think of anybody that jumps off the top of the page outside of that. I think a lot of the guys in the league are in the backup roles are backups more than their starters. But but he's one guy I'll be interested to see. I don't know what his situation is in San Francisco, but if there's a team out there that's looking, and depending on who comes out in the draft, I don't think there's a lot of people that think there's a bunch of guys in this draft that are necessarily high draft picks or surefire franchise quarterbacks. So I could see a team that, maybe gets a quarterback a little bit later, also bringing in a guy like Mac Jones and going, okay, we're going to let these two guys compete and see what happens.
Kurt, hope can be a powerful thing. Cardinal fans could use some of it right now. If you think about their situation, the way you were able to turn this franchise around seemingly overnight, what would your message be to Cardinal fans? We're watching teams like the Chicago Bears do it in an offseason. Yeah. You had mentioned New England, right? Arizona's sitting here with playoff aspirations before the season. I think we like the players a lot. Just for whatever reason, they just couldn't compete this year in a gauntlet of the NFC West. Like, what would you say to Cardinal fans, ahead of a pivotal offseason?
Well, I mean, I think that is the beautiful thing about the NFL, is that it's not like, I used to feel back in the day, 20, 25 years ago, that it was always a rebuilding process. Like, you very seldom saw a team that, had 4 wins one year, be really successful the next year. But we've seen that a number of times. I mean, you go back to, my year. I mean, we were 4-12, with the Rams, and we came back and won the Super Bowl. I think a few years back, the San Francisco 49ers were 4 or 5 wins one year, and they went back and went to the Super Bowl. Cincinnati Bengals, 4 or 5 wins one year, and then Joe Burrow takes them to the Super Bowl. I'm not sure in 08. I mean, obviously 07, we were decent, but 2 years before that, we won 4 or 5 games as well. So I think the turnaround in the NFL, because of free agency and some of those things, that can turn very, very quickly. That's something that we've talked about every single week. I mean, the thing with this Cardinals team is, I mean, a play here, a play there, finishing a game. Like, I could go back to that Tennessee game, and I feel like so many things went sideways in that one game, because it was like, how did we lose this game? Like, you can't even make up the stuff that happened in that game. And, you almost feel like that took the Cardinals in the wrong direction. And then from there, they couldn't get out of it. And the ball just rolled downhill. But they've been so competitive this year that, that you just have to feel like they're not that far away. Although I get it. I get where I know we're not that far away, but our record is what our record is. Like, and that is the difference in the NFL, is like not just being close, but finding and having those difference makers that make sure the close games are won by you most of the time. And so I think that, to me, is where I sit with the Cardinals, is that I think they've got a good foundation. Now they've got to get some guys that can be those game changers for them, the guys that they can count on, as we've talked about on here. That 08 team for us, or 7 to 9 team, we were never a great football team. We had a lot of holes, but we also had a lot of game-changing guys. I was just talking to somebody today. Like, we never had a great defense, but we had an Antrell Roll that you put the ball in his area and he's going to intercept it. And if he intercepts it, he might take it back to the house every single time. Like we had a Carlos Dansby, good football player, but he was great in the moment. Like if we needed a, ball knocked down or a sack made or a great, like he was that guy. And so, we had enough of those guys to go along with, I think, what we did really well offensively, that's what put us over the top was the game-changing guys and the guys that could make those big, kind of game-changing plays. And I think that, to me, when I looked at the Cardinals this year, was probably the thing that they were missing. Competitive, played well, good players on both sides, but they never made that play. Somebody, making that catch and making somebody miss and going to the house, or somebody, gets their hands on the ball, but instead of getting their hands on it, makes the interception that closes out the game. I mean, that was the Tennessee one. I mean, the interception and then the fumble, and you're just like, those kinds of things I really believe is what the NFL has become more about than necessarily being a dominating team, because so many games in this day and age are close games, that you need those guys that can step up and change the game with one play. And you just don't see this Cardinals team really doing that enough. And so that, to me, I think there's hope, there's excitement, because they're really close, but we got to find those guys. We got to identify those guys, whether it's free agency or draft, and get a few of those guys in to turn the tides.
Yeah. We were talking to a colleague of ours who reached out after that Titans game, who covers the Bears. He's like, hey, this is really eerily similar to what happened in DC last year with the Bears, and they didn't recover. We know that's history, but it also, now you look back, it's like, hey, that kind of worked out well in the end for the Bears, who lead the NFC. Incredible stuff from Kurt Warner. It looks like you got a good one on tap Monday night in LA. You got the Chargers and Eagles coming, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I hope so. Justin Herbert's obviously going to be a big determining factor. He's got the break on the left hand or the wrist. So to see what he's capable of doing, and if they're going to play him in that game, I think will be obviously a big part of what's going on. And then you got a lot of questions with the Eagles now. A team that was finding ways to win all these games. Kind of maybe just the exact opposite of what we were saying with the Cardinals early in the year, was that they weren't playing great football, but they just seemed to have, when you need a block kick, they make the block kick. When you need a play to be made, on fourth down, and you throw it up to A.J. Brown, like they had the game-changing plays that would win games for them, but they're not playing great across the board right now. And so there's a lot of questions about them, and I think what we've seen with Philly over the last few years is when you have a lot of questions, they usually come out and play their best football. So hopefully that's the case on Monday night. Hopefully Justin Herbert's there. Both teams are vying for a lot at this point. So it should be a really good one.
Kurt, thank you so much for the time. We appreciate you. We got a lot on the docket here. Quarterback's going to be a topic of conversation with this franchise for many months to come. So hope to talk to you soon.
All right, guys. Talk soon.
Great stuff from Kurt Warner, the Hall of Famer. He's going to be on the call. Him and Kevin Harlan there on Westwood One's Monday Night Football coverage. But unbelievable insight there from the Cardinals legend. We're going to kind of recap that, what Kurt said, plus what we witnessed out there at the practice facility, some news and notes as far as the Cardinals, who's trending towards playing and who's not. Looks like a key player is going to probably be on the shelf for the remainder of the season. We'll tell you who. PHNX Cardinals.
I'm going to tell you what's key for me. Our friends at Branded Bills, looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd. Branded Bills has you covered with the best custom headwear. I'm repping it damn near every day on this program. The best hats money can buy. Start your order, and their dedicated team will help you create the exact custom apparel you need, whether you're repping truckers, fitteds. I've got the snapback on, beanies, or tees. Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. They've got partnerships with 40 universities, including ASU and U of A as a part of their campus collection. I've got so many on both sides. I love them to death. They also partner with the Phoenix Suns. Locally owned, operated out of Mesa. Check them out, BBPHNX, for 15% off your first order, brandedbills.com.
Love Branded Bills. Also love our friends over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Nobody does it better. Visit any of their 4 locations around the valley, and you're going to get the next level of casino experiences, resort experiences, Wild Horse Pass, of course, we're most familiar with. That's where we do our away game watch alongs, plus Lone Butte, Bequiva, Santan Mountain. Experience the best that the Valley has to offer. Check out the 4,500 slots, live table games, and catch all the action in their sports book. Go big and go home a winner. From upscale to approachable, casual to classy, from bar to bar none. A selection of dining options are always in good taste. Shula's Steakhouse, great view of the Valley. You can't beat the views there. You can't beat the food. You do you. Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathila.com for all the details.
Kurt said a lot of interesting stuff. So big thank you to the Hall of Famer. One thing that stood out to me, Bo, and I felt this way going into this season, and we were hoping players would emerge. The Cardinals just don't have a lot of elite players to help them close out games. Mm-hmm. And like these draft picks from the last couple of years are good players, but they're not elite players, at least not yet. They're not blue chippers. And that's why it's so frustrating to watch Walter Nolen play, because he is a game wrecker. He is a game changer in the sense that, okay, he can sack the quarterback. He had a defensive touchdown in like his third game, but they just don't have enough of that, or they don't have enough of it consistently. And so I look back, I like what Ossenfort has done in the draft for the most part. We gave it, a B+, but they're this offseason on top of adding a quarterback, they need playmakers on both sides of the ball to get them over the top, whether that's in the draft or opening up the wallet and paying for it in free agency.
Yeah, you're not finding enough impact makers, consistent impact makers in round 1 and round 2.
Yeah.
And there's been a variety of different variables that go into why that is. Ojolari's injured. You've got Marv now, who's missed a couple games, concussion. Now he's dealing with the appendicitis. Now he's got a heel injury. Max Melton. And then Will Johnson's missed a handful of games. It's just guys who
Darius
are top
Robinson not making it.
Darius Robinson, absolutely. When he's been in there, when he has been healthy and in there, hasn't made the impact that you necessarily want from the 26th overall. So, is it steady? Is he doing a nice job hitting some singles throughout the draft? But he hasn't found like too many enough home run hitters, or even just extra base hitters. Guys that are going to up the slugging percentage for his draft classes.
Yeah, I mean, like that. Listening to Kurt talk about Mendoza in particular, and it's just like I started to think about that. Like, I'm not ready to punt on the draft and develop strategy, but I do think like we're a long way off from this. You and I both assume the Cardinals are going to have like a top 5 to 7 pick. Okay, like could they sacrifice future picks to get up to number 1? I think you and I would both agree. Sure, they could. They absolutely could. Yeah. You've got 27 drafted players over the course of the last 3 years. I think that leads the NFL, right? And like Monti Ossenfort can find Taylor Demersons and Denzel Burks and Dante Stills later in the draft. So if you're telling me like, okay, well, and I don't think this is all on Monty. Like some of the first rounders haven't worked out yet because of injury. But it's just like, but if you have a chance to go up and get a franchise quarterback first overall, it's like, okay, you got to give up a couple ones. It's like they've already shown like, well, we play a lot of our games without our first round picks already. If we have an opportunity to go up and get a player of his caliber, or Dante Moore, or whatever is your preference. So it sounds like I'm withholding blame for Monty, and I'm not, but I liked these players. So I feel like I would be a hypocrite. Like we all loved Marv. We all loved Darius, right? Like Walter Nolen was the right pick at 16. He just hasn't been healthy. Like it's not like Keim where he would make the pick and we all were like, that's terrible. And then it would be terrible. Right. Like I never liked, most of his first rounders. I didn't like, Simmons. I didn't like Humphreys. I didn't like, Hassan Reddick, given the circumstances. Some of them worked out and some of them didn't. But I just feel like for Monty in particular, they're going to have money to spend, but they have to get a quarterback. I mean, you talk about whether or not, the Gannon situation, we put that off to the side for a second. This is every offseason becomes the most important for Monti Ossenfort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one's more pivotal than last, which you didn't think was
Right.
possible, right? Because you
You
thought
thought they'd be getting extensions this offseason. They'd
yeah,
be putting their feet
it's
up.
like you're buying back in. It's your local poker game, and you
Right.
keep pushing the chips to the middle of the table, and like no, this is good. This is the last time I'm buying back in, and then I'm done, and then you're back racking up ATM fees. Look, a key player for the Cardinals could be done for the season, and we're expecting him back. We'll tell you who that is, plus an update on Walter Nolen and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the other side. PHNX Cardinals.
I'll tell you who's back in my stocking stuffers this year. It's Arizona Scratchers from the Arizona Lottery. Holiday Scratchers. 'Tis the season for over $80 million in prizes. 80000, baby. Play holiday tickets from the Arizona Lottery for your chance to fill your stocking with cold, hard cash. Plus, you can dash to instant prizes with holiday fast play tickets. They're made for gifting, whether it's White Elephant Exchange, stocking stuffers, or just because there's always a chance your gift could be worth millions. Check them out right now. Head to your local Circle K, of course. Pick up a $10 lottery ticket. Then enter into Players Club at the azplayersclub.com to receive 10 points per dollar spent. Then, on top of that, redeem your points for the entire entry drawing. Make sure you enter by the end of the year, December 31st, 2025, for your chance to win big, Bo.
Everybody needs a checking account. I hope all of you have one where you keep your money safe and sound. And some of you maybe even, enjoy seeing some interest build up. You make a little bit extra money, but why not tap in on the perks that you could absolutely get from our friends over at Mountain America and make my style checking your lifestyle over at Mountain America Credit Union. Everybody needs that checking account, but get the account with built-in benefits. Mountain America's My Style checking account has the perks just for you. Restaurant deals. How about mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, loan rate discounts, offers on travels and events, and so much more. Make My Style your lifestyle. Mountain America Credit Union. Check them out. Visit macu.com/mystyle to apply. It's required, insured by NCUA, and memberships required based on eligibility. And some benefits require no cost registration, activation. Terms, conditions, and exclusions apply. But look, let's start getting a checking account that's going to benefit you and give you all the perks that you deserve. Visit the website, apply for yourself, macu.com/mystyle.
Everybody hit that like button. Trey Benson looks like his season could be over. He has not played consistently since, I believe, earlier this year against San Francisco, in which he took over for James Conner. Yeah, Seattle. Then after the fact, Trey Benson, Bo, had that meniscus tear. I think had a cleanup surgery after, and they were expecting him to return sometime in November. He had his practice window opened. He was practicing. You tweeted out highlights. What was that, 3 weeks ago? He has since now been absent from practice, Bo.
Yeah, we've hit the 2-week mark as far as a 3-week practice window. You hit that third week without being activated after being designated to return, you're done for the season. And Trey Benson, everything was trending well for him. And then he just kind of had one of these practices where it didn't look great. He just kind of looked like he was a little gimpy. And I don't know if that just turned out to be maybe he just didn't feel like he was ready. But now, since then, he's missed 3 consecutive practices, Thursday, Friday last week, and now Wednesday today. He has 7 days in counting, 6 days in counting now after today being the books until they activate him. So really in the danger zone of being lost for the season and not getting because we wanted more insight on who Trey Benson was after kind of being stuck behind James Conner last year and then going out in the first game sans James Conner against the Seahawks. We really don't know what we have from the 2024 third-round pick.
He's just not somebody you're going to be able to count on next year as like, hey, this guy could lead our backfield. Like, could he surprise people? I maybe. And like, we assume Jonathan Gannon's coming back next year. I think that increases the likelihood that James Conner's on this team. So you're probably going to have both guys in your backfield, maybe. They need to add another player, though. I mean, I just, depending on how things fall in the draft and what the board looks like or free agency, this has been, like, I'm not making excuses here. Like, the offensive line has not been good. but they've been caught kind of, with a very difficult spot losing all these backs. Like, I think they would I know it makes Jonathan Gannon sick to his stomach. He would tell you that they have to throw the ball this much. And you look at teams like Chicago and these other organizations that have stabilized their offense with a run game. Like we saw it last year. The Cardinals want to do that early and often. So they're going to get a new left guard. They're going to get a new right tackle. I would add another back, though. I would be aggressive. I would get somebody else in here. I like Bam Knight well enough, but, I would imagine James, Trey, DeMercado will all be back. But I think you got to get somebody else that can push that group.
Yeah,
it would not be nice. It would give you a nice little safety blanket, and it also something you could probably find in free agency, not break the bank.
Yeah,
you could go a couple different routes on it, but the Cardinals, I think, even proved that you got to have a little bit more depth, even more so than the top two. And like we've heard it now a couple of times, what Ben Johnson has been able to do in Chicago. I mean, he's doing with a seventh round pick is kind of the is the complimentary player here, or the Robin to the Batman in Swift, and what he did in Denver. I mean, I'm sorry, in Detroit, where it was like they signed Montgomery and they pitted him with a first round pick, but regardless of like draft status or free agent dollars, like Ben Johnson has been able to find production from his backfield. You got to get back to being a productive run game.
Yeah, it's a mandate, especially like this team right now is going to be breaking in a new quarterback, an old quarterback, a young quarterback. It's going to be the most important complementary tool, because like we like Michael Wilson, we like Marv, we love Trey. They should have enough receivers. If you don't have what you need up front, I mean, it's a moot point. We're coming back around the corner. Trevor Sikkema, we're going to play the other half of Trev's time with us from yesterday. Who does he like atop this quarterback class? That and your super chats coming up. It's PHNX. I'll tell you what's coming up. Big money with our friends at Bet365. We got Thursday Night Football tomorrow. See for yourself. Place a qualifying bet with Bet365 totaling $20 or more on tomorrow's game and get a bonus bet for every touchdown. Terms and conditions apply, but right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. Sign up right now. PHNX365 is the promo code. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5, and you get $150 in bonus bets. Again, bonus bets can be used on spreads, totals, player props, futures, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary with Bet365. Got to be 21 years and older, physically located in Arizona. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, wants help, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Text next step to 53342 or visit problemgambling.az.gov, Bo, for more info.
We've got a brand new partner alert. How about our friends from Up? What do we got? Our guys from Upside. Love Upside. Upside is here with the holidays. They're meant for giving, but let's be real. Between road trips to see family and hosting holiday dinners, those last-minute grocery runs, gas runs, it can put a serious dent in your wallet. Look to our friends over at Upside. We've been using free Upside app since we started to get little rumblings of our little partnership, and it literally gives me cash back on things that I'm already paying for. Gas, groceries. How about dining out? Upside covers it all. There are over 100,000 places on the app, so no matter where you are, the chances are that the cash back is waiting for you. Real cash, no points, no confusing rewards. You just transfer it straight to your bank account. For me, it fits perfectly in my routine. You fill up, you grab food, you get coffee. Check Upside first. Claim an offer, pay like normal, follow the steps in the app, and boom, you get paid. Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. Find out how much you can earn. Download the free Upside app today. Use the promo code PHNX. Get an extra 25 cents back per every gallon for your first tank of gas. Nice little perk right away for you. That's promo code PHNX for an extra 25 cents per gallon. As the draft standings stand in the Arizona Cardinals, not a whole lot of predictable wins left on the schedule. Cardinals 8th. You got the Jets 7th, Commanders 6th, Browns, Raiders, Giants, Saints, Titans. As we do kind of the calculus here, 3 quarterbacks. I mean, are they even within striking distance? Is it going to be kind of similar to where we're just going to see those quarterbacks go off the board and you're just going to be kind of left waiting and going to have to take maybe the best position player available?
So I don't think so because of how interesting it is with who's picking at the very top. Titans, they're not going to pick a quarterback. The Giants, they're not going to pick a quarterback. The Saints, maybe, but like Tyler Shucks looked okay, and it's pretty much going to be the same regime going into 2026 that drafted him in the second round. So if it was a new regime, I'd tell you the Saints could very well entertain a quarterback when they're picking that high. But to be honest with you, they got holes so vast around the rest of the roster, they might not even take one. And those are the three teams that are picking at the very top. Now the ones right behind them, you get the Raiders. Depending on what route they go, I think they're going to be very interested in a quarterback, obviously. The Browns, again, I don't know which. I don't think they're going to feel good enough about either of the two guys they have in Shedeur and Gabriel to not entertain the quarterback spot, but we will see with that one. Then you've got like the Commanders and the Jets. The Jets absolutely need one, so they're going to be in the conversation. But Jets have won 3 out of the last 5, and the team doesn't look too bad. So you might jump the Jets from their win total anyways in the draft order. And then when it comes to the Commanders, they're going to get Jaden Daniels back. I think they're going to be more competitive. They're going to win a handful of games down the stretch as well. So I think the Cardinals are probably going to pass them too. When it comes to these quarterbacks, one, it depends who's in the class, right? I don't think there's any guarantee that the 3 top quarterbacks, and Ty Simpson from Alabama, Dante Moore from Oregon, and Fernando Mendoza from Indiana, I don't know if all 3 of them are going to be in the class. But because of who's picking at the top right now, Titans are going to win one more game at max this season. So I think they're going to pick number 1 in this draft. I think the Giants are not a good football team either. So I think they're picking 2 or 3 when it's all said and done. Both of those teams, you can trade up with both of them. You could get up to number 1 and especially if you're the Cardinals, who I think are probably going to finish somewhere around 5. These teams they're not dropping too far. You've got the ability to go up and get a quarterback. Now, of course, the quarterback price is typically a lot, and depending on the scarcity of the class, we'll see what the price tag ends up being. But to answer your question at the beginning, no, I don't think the Cardinals are going to be in a situation where we get to the end of round 1 of the draft or end of the offseason, whatever it is, and you shrug your shoulders and you go, we never had a chance. They will have a chance to draft a quarterback, whether it's at their original spot or to potentially trade up for one. I fully believe that.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, the Cardinals have one winnable game left on their schedule, home against Atlanta. I think it's very realistic they could lose out given the level of play or lack thereof. They play the Rams twice. They play at Cincy. And of course, they're playing against Houston. So I think at most 3-14 probably guarantees you a top 5 pick. I want to talk about these quarterbacks real quick because I'm a big Fernando Mendoza guy. I think he's been the best quarterback in college football this year. I would take him first overall. But like there's this pushback right now going on with Dante Moore signaling like he might not declare. Well, this is third year of college football. He's set up for, I think, a prolonged run in the college football playoff. Why on earth would he stay, Trevor?
So he would stay because it's only his first year as a full-time starter. And he is still young. He's just a true junior. Yes, it's his third year in college football, but he was at UCLA to start. He backed up Dylan Gabriel last year. And so this year is his first year as a full-time starter. And so if he wants more time in college football, which some guys do, I think that at the beginning of the season, there was reason to believe that he would be coming back to school. Now I think that's much less likely. 1, because of his success. 2, because the rest of the quarterback class doesn't look very good and it feels like he's going to be a top 5 lock. 3, his offensive coordinator's leaving to go be the head coach of Kentucky, which I think matters in all of this as well. And, 4, it's just Oregon's going to have the opportunity there's going to be some talented quarterbacks that also hit the portal. So, of course, they would take Dante Moore back if he wanted to come back. But at that point, like there's other quarterbacks that are in the portal. For example, JKS, who is a very talented, true freshman quarterback at Cal this past year, Cal just fired their head coach. He's going to be going somewhere else. He was previously committed to Oregon before he committed to Cal. All the stars sort of aligned for him to potentially be in the portal now with his head coach gone. And where's he going to look first? Well, he's going to look at Oregon, especially if Dante Moore isn't there. So I think all of those things go into it. He's having a really, really good year. You mentioned Oregon's going to be able to play in some big games coming up in the college football playoff. He'll get a taste of that. And with his offensive coordinator, Will Stein, now going over to Kentucky to be their head coach, I just feel as though that really opens the door for him to potentially be in this class.
Man, just kind of punting on 45 million guaranteed that you would get. I mean, it's curious. I'm curious just as far as your evaluation so far of this class. Are there going to be the position players that make the case that you can't pass on them? Does that demand issue present itself? And then how many first round grades do you have for quarterbacks?
So the first part of the question, there are going to be really alluring players at the top. I think Arvell Reese, the linebacker, he plays off-ball linebacker, but he also plays as an on-ball edge. I think his home and his biggest impact in the NFL is going to be at edge. I think that the conversation with him is going to be very similar to what we had with Jalen Walker from Georgia, although I think that Arvell Reese from Ohio State is the better version of that. I would take Arvell Reese over Jalen Walker, and Jalen Walker went 8th overall, I believe, last year to the Atlanta Falcons. So we're going to talk about him potentially at number 1 overall. We're talking about Reuben Bain Jr. from Miami as well, a 270-pound defensive lineman who moves like a guy who's 30 pounds, explodes like a guy who's 30 pounds less than him, but he's got that strength of somebody with more weight. He can play basically everywhere on the defensive line outside of nose tackle, and I think that he could win in a variety of different ways. You got skilled position players, guys like Jordan Tyson, Jeremiah Love. They're going to be alluring within that top 10, and so I think that those are the players that you think about with one of those top picks. We know that quarterbacks, edge rushers, and offensive tackles are pretty much the only positions that are going to go number 1 overall ever. And there are a couple of guys that you think about, but I don't think we're going to think about those players as, oh my gosh, you have to take this player over trading down. So I think that, again, that just puts the situation to be very right for Arizona to be able to move up if that's what they wanted to do. And then when it comes to first round grades on these quarterbacks, I don't know if I'm going to have a firm first round grade on any of them. Now, Fernando Mendoza, I think we could have like that late first, early second round grade that I would give. Dante Moore feels like he's in that category as well. Ty Simpson, who I liked what I saw early on. He's sort of struggled a little bit down the stretch here, although I still love the potential of him. If he were to declare, I'd probably end up having somewhere like a second round grade on him as a quarterback. Now, that's who these guys are in their current state. And when I think about their overall talent ceiling, that's not to say that they can't get better. That's not to say that they can't outplay the draft grades that I would have of them pre-draft. I think that Mendoza gives you that NFL level arm talent. Man, those opposite hash to sideline out route throws. I mean, he's hitting those the way that very few quarterbacks in college football ever show you. He's got the true talent, arm talent, in my opinion. He's still, coming along as a decision maker, but he is so much better this year than he was last year. So you're very encouraged with that. For more, the accuracy, man, the touch, it's just beautiful with where he can pinpoint place the football. Now, I don't think he's got the best arm talent in the world. I don't think it's like a tier 1 arm for the NFL, but certainly, in Arizona, you get to play in a dome for half of the games that you play in, obviously, and it's not like he's playing in Soldier Field and he's got to rip it through the elements 4 or 5 times a year. So I think that landing spot would be good for him, but it's just that accuracy that he has in those touch passes that are so impressive. And then, like I said, Simpson is somebody who I have liked. I think he's got the arm talent for the NFL, but he's just been a little inconsistent with the accuracies, and specifically when he's playing under pressure, that I actually think he's the one of any of these 3 that would go back to school next year. I think it's much more likely that Moore and Mendoza are in this class.
Let's talk about, assuming those 3 declare, is there a 4th guy that could enter the fold? We talked about preseason, like maybe Sam Levitt. That obviously is not the case now. He's a lock to return to school at potentially a different university. I'm a big fan of Jaden from USC, who's looked really good down the stretch here. Are there any names that we should be watching that could creep up and could be this year's kind of Jackson Dart late first round?
Yeah, I like Maeva. I think at this point, Jaden Maeva from USC, I think that at this point he probably could be considered a day 2 quarterback if he were to declare, but he's another guy who throws a really nice layered ball in between like linebackers and safeties and corners and safeties. He knows that timing. He's got that touch. He's got a pretty good arm to him. He's not super mobile, and mobility is not going to be a big part of his game, but really nice pocket passer that we have seen this past year in the Big Ten, which feels very weird to say for USC that they're in the Big Ten. The real answer, though, is Lenora Sellers from South Carolina. Like, if Sellers is in this class, all bets are off, if you will. I have no idea, because physically, the physical gifts that he has, it's Anthony Richardson like. And Richardson went 6th overall despite how raw he was and how inexperienced he was as a passer coming out of Florida. I'm a Florida Gator. I watch every single Florida game. And I remember watching Richardson. And I was like, 6 overall is rich. But obviously you're swinging on the talent ceiling. So with how I feel like it's been a really tough year for South Carolina, Sellers hasn't really grown in the pocket. He hasn't really grown in how he manages pressure. And to be honest with you, his offensive line's been so bad this year, it's hard to even think that he would have the ability to get better. But if you're drafting him next year, you're going to be drafting a quarterback that still needs development. Somebody that still needs to understand pocket management and timing and touch and decision-making and not taking as many sacks and all of that kinds of stuff. So he is sort of the biggest wild card because he's probably the most talented quarterback of anyone who's going to be in this class if he is in that class. So I think my answer to who would be a 4th would be Lenora Sellers if he's there.
Always a great chat. So generous with this time. We always take this much. We could talk to you forever, but we can't do that because you're so busy and you're just ramping up. So much going on with you, Trevor. I mean, BFF, you got the mock draft simulator, the stock exchange. You guys are churning out episodes. What else you got going on?
Yeah, man. PFF, I mean, we are ramping up the mock draft simulator stuff. So anybody out there, if you have a PFF Plus subscription, you can go to pff.com/mock, and you can run as many mock drafts as you want for the Cardinals. 1 round, 2 round, 3 rounds, all the way up to 7 rounds. You can run as many as you want. We've got almost 500 prospects in there right now. We're going to have over 500, and most of them, I'm hoping, are going to have scouting reports here in the next couple of months that you guys can read as you try to make the Cardinals a better team. And so we appreciate you guys using that and obviously pumping that up. And then, of course, all the draft coverage over at the NFL Stock Exchange podcast with myself and Connor Rogers.
Trav, you're the best. Thank you, my guy. I hope to talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Anytime.
It was a totally live and not recorded interview as we stay live and unrecorded. No, we are live with you. Coming back here on the other side, we'll get to your super chats, plus a couple surprise additions to the Cardinals injury report. We'll tell you what's that. And why am I solo? I'll tell you that as well. PHNX cards. If you're looking for the best holiday gift, easiest gift to give, look no further than our friends over at Aura Frames and get $35 off just by being a listener, a viewer of PHNX Cardinals. Aura Frames is the answer to every holiday gifting moment. Never struggle again to find the perfect holiday gift. Check them out right now. How about unlimited free photos and video? Just download the Aura app and connect to the Wi-Fi. Preload photos before it ships. Keep adding from anywhere, anytime with an Aura frame. Personalize your gift, add a message before it even arrives, and share photos and videos effortlessly straight from your phone all year long, anytime, any place. Gift box included. You could probably even have some fun with it. Pop up a few joke pictures, like some pics from college or something when things got out of control. Just throw it up on your Aura frame, and your friend's going to have to live in shame right there at your holiday party. It's a perfect gag gift, but also it's the perfect gift from the heart. Check them out right now. Limited time. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com. Get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames, named #1 by Wirecutter by using the promo code PHNX at checkout. That's AURA frames.com. Promo code PHNX. Deal exclusive to listeners, and frames sell out fast. So order yours now. Terms, conditions apply. Aura Frames. Check them out. Also, got to tell you about one of our other fantastic partners, the husband and wife law team. I see them on my TV all the time. They're doing it right because they're spreading the word, because when it comes to serious injury, wrongful death cases, husband and wife law team, they're going to be your best option. It's not about a money grab. It's not about, hey, let's get to the easiest settlement possible for our firm. No, it's about the best result for you in your case. Serious injury, wrongful death. Look no further than Mark and Alexis, of course, the husband and wife law team. Over 100 years of trial experience, plus they've got specialists in so many different areas that are, of course, important when you're getting to these cases. Nobody can guarantee an outcome in a legal case. However, there are promises that you can make you proud for them, your clients, and it comes to your relationship as their client. They're going to make sure that you're in the best situation possible. Serious injury, call the husband life law team, 602-783-8841, and visit their website. You can find the link in the show notes. All right. We are back, totally not recorded. We're live, hanging out with you. Bo, Noah, Johnny it's just information overload. He couldn't take it any longer. I think maybe he's probably got some tummy issues after the beer he chugged yesterday. We're going to get to your super chats here in just a moment, and we'll send you off into the rest of your Wednesday. Interesting thing there from at the end from Trevor Sikkema joining us. Just his breakdown of this quarterback class. I think we're going to find out, like, once the college football season comes to an end, and I know we're probably 2 months from that because you've got these conference championships coming up. You're going to have the bowl craziness going on. You're going to have the college football playoff in place, but you're still not going to have like true clarity as far as what the quarterback class is going to look like probably until early January. But like Lenore Sellers is one of the guys where I think it just benefits to put that name, polarizing prospect, in the class, not necessarily for the Cardinals to draft, but just to add another signal caller to this draft class to kind of boost it up and create intrigue when you've got a player like Sellers. Like if he's similar to Anthony Richardson, you're going to have teams that are going to have different evaluations of him, and they're not going to so much. Some teams just don't care about productivity or lack thereof at the college level. They're going to be blown away by the projectables, by the skill set. And that's a guy like Lenore Sellers. You know, Fran Duffy has him as one of his highest quarterbacks rated just based off that skill set. So I think it bodes well for the Cardinals to get more QBs in this class, just that supply-demand, issue that we're looking at here. All right, Cardinals injury report just came out because they're playing the Rams. You get a little bit later in the day. Got official word on why we didn't see a couple guys. Calvin Beachum still dealing with the groin. Trey Benson, the knee, he remains on IR. He's now going to have 6 more days to be activated. That's looking like it might not happen, more and more likely. Greg Dortch was not out there. Another receiver down. Showed up with a chest injury, and that's going to loom a little bit larger than usual with Marvin Harrison Jr. dealing with the heel. He was another DMP with a heel. Max Melton, no Walter Nolen. He was a non-participant in practice, and then Josh Sweat was just getting a rest day, and Robert Taylor Demerson continues to nurse an ankle injury. He didn't practice. A couple guys added were back out there on the practice field today. LJ Collier was designated to return. I don't know if maybe adding a defensive lineman potentially back to the mix just is bad news for Walter Nolen. Can we kind of read those tea leaves? And then Amari Dermacado was limited in his return from a high ankle sprain. So with Benson not going, being able to go likely, I think you can rule him out at this point for this week and maybe the rest of the year. But Amari Dermacado comes back. So, I mean, if you're looking for like a fantasy play there, I mean, it just remains kind of Bam night, and that's still not the most convenient for somebody who's trying to make the playoffs or make a playoff run. But just a couple takeaways there. Devontae Adams, by the way, did not practice for the Rams, nursing a hamstring. So I don't know. That might be something to follow along with. Could just be kind of maintenance for Devontae Adams, as we've heard his name a couple times today. Kyron Williams, who had that ankle injury that took him out of the game, and then he came back for the Rams on Sunday in their loss. He was limited, so it doesn't look like he's in danger of missing this game. Let's get to your many super chats. You guys continue to crush it. How about our guy Shaft? Thank you, Shaft, for your generous donations yesterday. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Shaft says Kurt won't throw either of them under the bus. Won't throw either of them under the bus. I think he would have stayed with K1. One of these days, they'll let me out of chat prison. He's using our supporter emoji, giving that one of those boat face palms. No, you're going to have to go over to Shaft's house. You're going to have to figure out why he's stuck in chat prison. But, he wouldn't throw either of them under the bus. It's interesting. I think Kurt obviously doesn't want to, make anybody example, but he's also going to be able to tell you through his film studies, his analysis of, what the issue is. So Shaft comes back with another $5. Thank you, Shaft. Yesterday's show was awesome. Can we do that today? We might as well exhaust ourselves in mock drafts. At least we can have fun with it. And it's dropping the ASU supporter emoji. Thank you, Shaft. Yeah, yesterday was unbelievable. Just blown away by the generosity and the willingness to give to a great cause, and then show support of the PHNX community. We're thankful for all of you guys out there that participated yesterday in any amount that you donated, or just watching the shows was enough for us. Desert Vulture jumping in, $5. I thought this team turned the corner only to be sucker punched by the season. Yeah, that had a bunch of us fooled. Like we were dialing up the and just like freebasing the hopium for the entire offseason. And we thought, hey, this was a team that, won 8 games last year and they were on the precipice of something special. And it wasn't just going to be special in the form of like a one and done playoff appearance, that it was going to be in the form of consistent success that was going to be putting them in like a near playoff appearance every year. And the linear, progression was going to continue. And it was like, nope, we're going to actually just pull the chute on this and we're going to dart backwards as far as just development goes. And the Cardinals have taken several steps back. And I think that's where, some of the mistrust has been amplified a little bit, and why people are skeptical about, the current regime that they were bought hook, line, and sinker into this offseason. Thank you for your super chat. Shaft jumping back into it, making it rain. $5 bills here in the chat. It's a tough call. I like JG, but I would fire both Gannon and Drew Petzing, especially if you can get a head coach with experience. JG's record speaks for itself, so move on. Puke emoji. Yeah, I mean, look, Gannon, it seems like the writing's on the wall that Gannon's gonna come back, and he'll have to make some major staff changes. Seems like Drew Petzing, he's probably calling his final 5 games as Cardinals offensive coordinator. But, Gannon, even with all those experienced head coaches available, there's a ton of vacancies, and the Cardinals aren't, they're not guaranteed to get one of those head coaches. And it's just like, if it's this has the perception of a revolving door, it doesn't bode well as far as them landing, a candidate, or especially not their top candidate. Shaft comes back, $5. This is really for Jacob. I know he wants Dante Moore, and if we pick 4th or 5th, Moore may be the best option. Mendoza and Simpson will be 1 and 2 quarterbacks drafted. I'm not so sure of that myself. I think Dante Moore has a skill set as far as the way that his game is trending. He has the capability with the ceiling, a higher ceiling than I think both of those quarterbacks, and he has a good chance. I don't think you can cap him. I think 1 is his ceiling. I think he get as high as the top quarterback in this draft. Keeping it going here. $10. Thank you for all those super chats. I think Shaft in for $20 all day today. Actually, see a couple more bucks down the line here. Dave Broderick, $10. I suggest a new segment where Johnny and Bo impersonate one of each other. Bo talks crazy, free agent acquisitions, pipe dream fun, and JV, well, this isn't very cool, plays a wet blanket who wants to eat vitamins and ruin fun and draft offensive linemen. #cinema. Well, I liked it at the beginning of it, and then, David, you kind of look like a big jerk at the end of it. I don't know, but it's kind of an electric idea. Maybe we will role play a little bit on this show. What do you think, Noah?
I like that idea. I think you're more of a dry blanket, by the way.
Well, that's just comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's nice. I'm in on that. Shaft jumping in with $2. Mac Jones would be great. Still draft a quarterback to develop. Then you would have, Jacoby Brissett, who's under contract. You would have Mac Jones. And then, a developmental quarterback. Do you use that first round pick, or do you use that to build the roster? Take a tackle. I was looking at the Twitter streets. Dane Brugler had his first mock draft out there. He had the Cardinals taking an edge. I think it was the second edge off the board. Do we have that? Here's Dane Brugler's mock draft. Has Mendoza going 1, Dante Moore going to the Raiders 2, Avril Reese, who you heard Trev talk about, he's primarily an off-ball linebacker, going 3. Carnell Tate, the other Ohio State player, going number 4, the wide receiver. And then you've got Keldrick Falk going to the Titans. He's an edge. Actually, if you count Reese here, you've got 3 edges going before the Cardinals take another one, the 4th at 8, and David Bailey. I don't know. I don't like the value there. You got Ruben Bain going to the Commanders, and then Jordan Tyson, the ASU standout, going to the Jets 7th, and the Cardinals passing on Fanu, the versatile tackle out of Utah. I think they would probably go tackle before they would go with the 4th best or 3rd best edge available. I think they would go several different directions before taking the 4th or 3rd best edge. So that's Dane Brugler's mock draft that was released today. Keep it going with your super chats. How about we got Matt? Marv playing this week, we think? Well, he didn't practice today. I think it's a long shot that Marv plays this week. Gannon said on the Cardinals flagship radio station on Monday that it's similar to Max Melton. And Melton, although practicing in limited capacities before being held out on Friday's practice and not playing in the game, he said it's similar to Melton's, given their record and just how things have played out. Marv also just coming back from the appendicitis surgery. I think it's probably a long shot that Marv plays. So, like, could be good for Michael Wilson and his fantasy football owners. Keeping it going with Matt again. Dortch okay. Saw it in practice. Yeah, it showed up. He had a chest injury. Hopefully it's not too much to keep him out of there, because when you think about, you're already down big in the wide receiver room. You've got guys like Andre Bocellia on the active roster. Not a whole lot of, healthy live bodies in that wide receiver room that are available. It's Michael Wilson. And then it's Michael Wilson. That's it. That's all you have. So Michael Wilson could be in for another high volume target day along with Trey McBride. Who else we got here? How about 199? We've got Avid. Let's see. Could Cards trade Murray and picks for Dak? See, the thing, and Johnny, this is not going to be the last you hear about Johnny trying to this Jalen Hurts pipe dream that he had, fever dream, whatever it was that he brought up yesterday. He tries to do it again with our guy, Brian Baldinger. Thing about Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott are these guys' contracts are, you can't move them. They're immovable. Like, you can't move these. Like, it's going to be an unbelievably large cap hit for the team trading it. It's not like the Cardinals. Like, if it was the Cardinals, they've got plenty of cap space to take it on. I just don't think that Dak, I think his cap hit is one of the biggest, especially dead money wise, in the NFL next year. So as much as like, hey, just change of scenery type thing, like Dak Prescott leading the NFL in most statistical categories at the quarterback position. Do things run their course in Dallas after, is it inevitable now that they have another like embarrassing out? They don't make the playoffs, or if they sneak into the playoffs, they have another like just brutal collapse in a game. It's possible always with that team. But I think as far as, very impossible is trading for Dak Prescott this next offseason. Keeping it going here. How about Desert Vultures back? $5. Thank you, my man. Main focus is drafting the right quarterback for the right offensive system so we can actually have legit chance in the NFC West for wins. No doubt about it. I mean, you want to create an infrastructure that's conducive for quarterback success. But it's going to come from, like, part of that infrastructure has to be play calling that's going to elevate that quarterback's game. And like what we're seeing, Caleb Williams is a perfect prospect. He's not a perfect player, but they're able to kind of still win football games while developing him at the same time. And if you just bring a guy in and, your play calling is suspect and you're kind of putting him up in situations that are not conducive for success, that's going to stunt, the development. And it's also in what, Benjamin Albright's reporting as a make or break, playoff year. You're not going to have a chance playing in this gauntlet division. How about this very generous $20 from our guy, Kyle? JG did hire Clayton Adams, so he knows good coaching talent, but Drew Petzing wants to run the same offense and didn't make an adjustment after he left. I think that that's absolutely a case that can be made against Drew Petzing, no doubt about it. And I think Clayton Adams was one of those guys that was one of JG's first hires that he wanted to make. And, we're hearing more and more that they love Justin Fry. And they're thinking that, Justin Fry is going to be somebody that as he acclimates to the pro level, that this is a guy who won national championships as an offensive line coach at Ohio State, that he will figure it out at this level. There's just that much confidence in Fry that he's going to be an asset for them instead of, what many people perceive as like a step down, a couple steps down from Adams, or maybe even a liability. Keeping it going here in the super chats. Buwanaki, how about what proof do we have that JG will fix the fourth quarter collapses? Will a new offensive coordinator, special teams coach really help? And will JG let the OC run the offense all alone? I think that JG gives pretty much full play calling autonomy to his offensive play caller, just because he's a defensive guy and it's not really his department. I mean, as far as where JG can kind of meddle or put his stamp on, fourth quarters and collapses, and it is kind of just the clock management. That's really where he's going to play a role. And you should be skeptical as just far as the nearly 3 seasons of sample size that we have at our disposal, and it hasn't looked great. But as far as 4th and 1 calls and 4th and 2 and 4th and 4 and 3rd and 1 and all those situations, I mean, it's going to be up to the play caller, and hopefully you get somebody in there that's going to help you convert. It's going to certainly help you win football games and win football games late. Is that it?
That is all.
Churn through them. It's a fun show. Kurt Warner, it's always a great when it's a Warner Wednesday when we can catch up with the Hall of Famer. Some great stuff there. And then also you guys crushed it again with the Super Chats. But tomorrow we are off. We've got Brian Baldinger, though. He's going to be joining us. As I said, Johnny continues his Jalen Hurts crusade. Johnny needed to dip out a little earlier. It's, I believe, holiday recital season. So he needed to go be a family man, and we appreciate that. We respect that. We want Johnny to go spend some time with his fam. Hopefully he has a good night there. And then we've got, how about our guy AZ Cats, $5. Great job holding it down solo on this completely live show. It is a completely live show. And that interview with Trevor Sikkema was also completely live, wasn't it?
Yeah, all these super chats are totally live too.
They are.
We're totally reading them right now.
Yeah, we are all about live. We are going to be live on Friday, hanging out with a full game preview. Cardinals, I think, are 8.5-point dogs at home to the Los Angeles Rams. As I went through that injury report, who's available, like this thing could be a bloodbath. It really could. So there you go. Does that give you the confidence that you wanted to hear going into thank you, Eris. Going into the rest of your evening? It's just you thought about like just the uphill climb you had anyway, and then you're like, probably no Walter, probably no Marv, and it's just gonna be another Daddy McVay moment. He comes in, guy who's only lost once since taking over the Rams as a Rams head coach in our building, and it's just going to continue to add to his dominance, and it makes me sick. I mean, can they shock the world? Like, and then like you got to put. Yeah, I know you're shaking your head. No, very, very unlikely. But because if they did that and the Rams were sitting there and they look like this unstoppable force, and then they've got L's that they've taken from the Panthers and the Cardinals in back-to-back weeks, I mean, that would add even more insult to the injury, and people can be like, well, what the hell's wrong with the Rams? We thought they were poised to be, the pride of the NFC. So we'll see. We're going to give our full game preview Friday. Anybody bold enough to pick the Cardinals? We'll see. Plus, we'll give updates as far as key injured Cardinals and their game status on Friday afternoon. But check out our Baldy interview tomorrow, 4:30. Make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports here on YouTube. And look, if you did the Spotify Unwrapped or some variation of that, hit us up on our socials at PHNX_Cardinals. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. We're so thankful, so appreciative to people who make us your listen when it comes to Cardinals news, entertainment, whatever it may be, information. We appreciate that. For Johnny, who's not here, for Noah, who is here, and for me, we're not going to be live very much longer. We'll talk to you guys live on Friday, 4:30, right here, PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.